Chris Metzen is back at the helm writing for Blizzard. EVE Online is making another shooter. Counter-Strike 2 got hot dropped by our Lord Gaben. More strikes are picking up steam in the entertainment industry. And Tomb Raider and Devil May Cry are coming to Netflix. What other video game adaptations are on the horizon? Zero Dawn.
Nick here, excited to review Toe Jam and Earl 4, now voiced by Megan Fox.
Hi, I'm Josh, and I want a Hemsworth to play me in Netflix's adaptation of VGT.
And I'm Andy. This is Video Game Tango. And we're back!
And ready to go.
Definitely.
Like always.
Not me. I need to pack my bags. I'm late.
We definitely aren't late getting started with this podcast by any means.
It's starting right on time.
It's not Thursday.
Well, it's not yet. So we've got some video game stuff to talk about.
We do have some stuff to talk about.
I want to start with World of Warcraft. I know it's weird. It's unlike me to talk about Blizzard franchises.
Mm-hmm.
I know you were so excited about this news. I wanted to say like that video that you showed us was pretty mid, just to hurt your feelings, but I couldn't do it. That's how excited you were.
I'd fucking mash your balls.
I know.
Mash.
With the old potato masher, not the newfangled whip thing.
Blizzard has announced they have a new creative director for World of Warcraft.
No, they have an old creative director.
That was yesterday. Today, they have a new executive creator or creative director for World of Warcraft. His name is Chris Metzen. He is the old creative director of World of Warcraft.
Chief.
Yeah, he's my war chief.
I mean, that should have been his title.
Yeah.
Come on now.
So it isn't his made up title. He describes himself as war chief of the Horde for Blizzard Entertainment. So Chris Metzen, beloved by many, if you didn't know, is basically the story writer for the Warcraft universe from its inception.
And StarCraft and Diablo.
And 100% for Blizzard. Mm-hmm. I mean, all the way up until about 2016. And he's back. And I couldn't be more excited. There isn't a whole lot to say about the matter other than he's there to come bring back what Blizzard lost in the last few years, which is like good narrative and story. And I'm fucking here for it. It makes me sad that I can't go to BlizzCon this year and celebrate his comeback. And it also makes me really look forward, or it gives me some hope for my beloved franchises.
Opium.
And that is exactly what it is. World of Warcraft, Diablo. I don't know if we're ever going to see any more StarCraft, but that would be lovely. But at the very least, that World of Warcraft brutality, that the feel of the old WoW, I want that back. I want it back so bad.
Fingers crossed.
I got fingers and toes, man. They're all crossed all the time. I'm ready for it.
Do we want to jump from hopium to copium?
The difference, the difference in flavor between those two videos, like say Dragonflight and say Wrath of the Lich King.
Yeah.
Like the difference in feel,
the tonal difference,
yeah, everything,
right?
It's huge.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, like Dragonflight, because I've played in a little bit of Wrath in our undocumented servers. Shh, don't tell anybody.
Keep it secret.
Keep it safe. So that was a lot of fun. That was big fun. Dragonflight looks like a lot of sizzle, but not a lot of steak.
Yeah, it would be interesting, Josh. I would actually love to experiment on you in that you have played what is known as classic World of Warcraft. It's not quite classic, right? We're not talking the vanilla experience. Josh has played on a private server. It's a one-for-one remake of Wrath of the Lich King with some differences in the end game, which Josh never experienced. We actually stopped at like level 57 or something like that. We just never... other games happened and we didn't come back to it. And at this point, you know, Josh is kind of thinking like he doesn't want to roll a Warlock anymore. He'd like to experience something else. And it's like, okay, well, I don't want to. So we just didn't quite mesh up there. But I would love to see you, like your experience in what I would call classic World of Warcraft. I would love to see you play retail.
Is it
like not even all the way up to Dragonflight. Yeah. I just like your comparison in like the leveling experience up to like Dragonflight, up to modern WoW. I would love to hear your comparison as somebody that has like totally fresh eyes on it.
Yeah, that would be an interesting take.
As a brand new player, like I don't have the insight of a brand new player coming to WoW for the first time. I'd love to hear that.
To be honest, per our last conversation before the cast, it sounds like he can be bought with tacos.
Well,
So you might consider that.
we got a Taco Bell right here, buddy. You ready
Just
for
saying.
it?
I mean, that one gave you food poisoning.
Yeah. Are you prepared for massive diarrhea?
Always.
Good. Well, then it's time for World of Warcraft.
That's the name of his thrash metal album.
So yeah, no, I'd love to do that. If you're ever game.
Yeah. It'd be fun. It'd be fun to give it a try.
Yeah, dude, we should definitely do that. Anyways, aside from us making plans on hanging out with each other,
right?
To just do cocaine.
Yeah.
That's what Warcraft is. I'd like you to see to try and do cocaine.
Yeah,
I'll buy you tacos.
cocaine too, electric boogaloo. Yeah. Let's move on.
Yeah. We want to stay in the realm of Activision Blizzard, though, and its merger with Microsoft. So the FTC has decided that it is going to go ahead and do an appeal, but internally, and more than likely, it's not going to stop
Isn't the
merger
on
from
the
happening.
outside?
No, it's an internal FTC trial process. So this decision follows the U.S. Appeals Court saying, "Nah, it's good, it's Gucci." That merger's happening. Last week, the CMA, which is the UK's regulatory body, with some
Grease palms.
and of course, the happy, friendly Microsoft open arms of cloud streaming contracts being tossed about willy-nilly. The CMA relented and has approved the merger or the buyout. So this is a little tiny baby thing that probably doesn't stand in the way. Right now, everything is set to move forward by October 18th. So before All Hallows Eve of this year, Microsoft is anticipating its acquisition of Activision Blizzard. So an FTC spokesperson said the FTC continues to believe that this deal is a threat to competition. And the FTC is placing this issue on the commission's calendar, but that our current focus is on the federal appeal process, which is, let's face it, it's not, the federal appeal process isn't going to go in their favor. The appellate process didn't go in their favor. The next step isn't going to either.
There's no favors here.
There's no favors here. There was, of course, a response from an Activision spokesperson who said, "We're focused on working with Microsoft towards closing. How the FTC uses its limited taxpayer dollars is its business."
Throwing victory shade.
Yeah.
Yeah. At this point, foregone conclusion. Stalling the inevitable.
pretty much.
It is pretty much a foregone conclusion. It's happening.
I mean, with DLC inflation, it's probably gone at this point. At least we haven't gotten to Qui-Gon levels.
But I mean, without this coming on the Mac of it, though, everything's not super friendly. We talked about last week in the Microsoft leak, Elder Scrolls 6 isn't coming to PlayStation. Starfield didn't come out on PlayStation. So it's not open arms and friendly smiles for everybody. Just almost everybody.
Well, to be fair, like Sony was like, "Fuck you, Microsoft. We
That's
don't give
true.
a shit about our Call of Duty deal. We just don't want you to do this."
That is true.
Right? Yeah,
that
like,
is true.
They outright said that. So I kind of get it.
I get it a little bit.
What's weird is it means fewer sales. Like PlayStation is the dominant console right now.
It does mean fewer sales ultimately, which is why I don't understand why sure, give it some exclusivity so that the people who buy the console get a reward like 6 months or maybe a year at most. Good God. But then after that, sell your game elsewhere, right? Make more money. But that's not the feeling, apparently.
The goal is power and erections, not cash money.
I understand those goals. They make sense to me. I like power and erections.
I mean, what else are we here for, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Do we want to speak about another way to lose money?
Sure. I don't know what you mean by that, but yes.
Copium. EVE Online is a game. It's a game like none other, and I mean that in the best and worst of ways. Has now, for the fourth time, well, I should say is attempting to make yet another first-person shooter set in the EVE universe. For all you youngsters or people that don't follow weird, bizarre video games, EVE Online is technically an MMO set in space where you're a spaceship man.
The final frontier.
But the deal is that the vast majority of all the content, including the economy and the ships and all that, is all player run. So there's no real like vendors that you sell stuff to. The economy is entirely player based. And everything takes a long time. And it's kind of like what I imagine learning wizardry. 90 years of boredom followed by 10 minutes of sheer panic, where you can read online about situations where you have like 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 real players all in starships fighting a battle where the equivalent of like $80,000 is destroyed in a matter of an hour.
Yeah.
It's an experience. It's not a game. However, given that it's got a massive setting, its own internal IP and all that, way back in the day, they attempted to make a game for the PS3, I believe it was, called Dust 541, which was a first-person shooter akin to maybe something like PlanetSide 2, where while people were playing the ship-based game in EVE, they could interact and directly affect the first-person shooter side in Dust 541. So if you're a trooper on the ground, you can call in an orbital strike if a player in EVE happened to have a ship over the battlefield who could then real-time attack like a match.
Boy, that's kind of neat.
It's an amazing idea. Game flopped, lasted like a year or two before they shut it down. And then Eternally EVE has announced like a couple projects since then that both never saw the light of day. And now for the fourth time, EVE is now announcing EVE Vanguard. We're currently watching some footage of Dust 541, 514 in here. EVE Vanguard is going to be a PvPvE shooter set in the EVE Online universe. Something taking elements from Hunt Showdown, Escape from Tarkov. The general idea is players and squads fighting NPC enemies in order to secure items that other players on the same server will then compete to steal. Your actions in the shooter are going to, quote, be connected to EVE Online via a corruption mechanic that is currently being introduced in the newest EVE expansion, Havoc. How that plays out, we have yet to see. If this is going to come out, we've yet to see. We've been here now twice, with two more times not ever seeing the light of day. If it does come out, this is my cocaine. I don't need a merger acquisition.
My cocaine.
This is I failed you, Batman, right?
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah, the whole idea of super asymmetrical play where you've got two completely disparate video games connected together real time, that just boggles my mind. I love the concept. I have every finger, every ISK crossed that it works out. And we'll see how that plays.
Come on. Well, hey, speaking of other video games,
Mario.
What a
Netflix.
smooth transition.
Listen, let me think. Speaking of other video game properties that are, listen, Netflix
Where are we going with this?
has put out a couple trailers today
Oh.
because they are now working on Tomb Raider, The Legend of Lara Croft, which was announced today and given a little trailer. On top of that, they announced they are working on a Devil May Cry series as well.
Okay.
So more Netflix video game adaptations. Now, video game adaptations, as we all know, have been kind of mid for the most part.
That's
or
a really
worse.
gentle way of putting that.
But listen, there have been a couple in recent history that have really elevated things, right? So we're hoping, there's hope that these are going to be good. Now, these are just like super short teaser trailers, but something that I wanted to talk about briefly is not only did they announce today that they were doing Tomb Raider, that they were doing Devil May Cry. The Devil May Cry trailer is nothing. You get to see Dante firing guns for about a second, and that's it.
Oh, bang.
They plan on doing quite a few video game adaptations, and what's up?
Honestly, animation is a strong way to go for video game adaptations.
Yeah, and like Castlevania was good, and that was done in kind of like a Western anime style. I liked the first season of Castlevania. I haven't watched any. That's not true. I did watch some of the second season, but yeah, for what I've seen, it's good. God, what was the League of
Lara
Legends?
Croft looked great.
She did.
Arcane.
Are
you kidding me?
Amazing,
Arcane.
right?
Oh.
Yeah. Now that was League of Legends writers
It did take
working
like
with
90 years for them to make
and
it too.
yes, it did. Yes, it did. It wasn't like a flash in the pan kind of thing. They were working on that for a long time. That said, Netflix, they're
Honestly, dude, that said, some of the best DC content has been adapted over into animation, and it's still it's good. Like it's obviously some of it is geared towards kids, some of it's not. Some of it is very much adult themes in like that kid in the animation.
Yeah.
But it works very well. So I saw that Tomb Raider, the Tomb Raider animation. That
Looks
looked
great.
good.
Yeah.
It looks really good.
yeah.
Devil May Cry, honestly, looked pretty awesome too. Just that couple of seconds there, you instantly knew it was Dante, and it was,
Yeah.
it was.
And those are two properties that have a lot to pull from, right? Like they're pretty historied video games. Going further though, they have a lot of video game adaptations in the works. Let's start with Assassin's Creed. They're doing a live action TV series and an animated series.
Of course.
Yep. Splinter Cell, which I didn't know about, had never heard about them doing anything with Splinter Cell, but they are doing an animated series for Splinter Cell.
Okay.
Could be interesting.
Okay, all right.
I'm going to call it right now. The Assassin's Creed live action is going to be worse than the live action Halo.
Very possibly, and I'm here for it. I can't wait to hate watch it. BioShock, the movie, they've been working on for a couple years now.
30.
So we'll see about that. Beyond Good and Evil, another Ubisoft property.
That would be good.
That
expose an entirely new audience to that series of games,
right?
which
And
were
then
fantastic.
maybe we'll get some more Beyond Good and Evil video games. We'll see about that.
Is that Dragon Quest
It's Dragon's Lair, yes.
or Dragon's Lair?
Yeah. So Dragon's Lair, they first announced in March 2020. They are still working on. There's very little known about the development of the series, but I mean, call Dragon's Lair a video game is already kind of loose. It basically
the first
is
major point and click video game,
right? Yeah. But it basically is an animated short, right?
Yeah, it is already.
That's effectively all you do.
Giving that an update,
Yeah.
I see why that's happening, especially on Netflix due to the popularity of Stranger Things.
That's true. There are interactive shows on Netflix.
Yes, well, in Stranger Things, like Dragon's Lair is one of the games that they're playing at the arcade.
Okay, that's probably why they're doing it. Now, if they made it a self-aware thing like that Harley Quinn animated show,
oh man,
like that would be an excellent
that Harley
way to
Quinn
do.
animated show is bonkers
Yeah,
good.
it's really good.
So I actually wouldn't be surprised if they actually just do Dragon's Lair on Netflix.
But it's the
I know that's not interesting.
plot is threadbare.
Well, no,
the
no.
entire interest of that game was that you just died in.
That's the
funny
thing, though,
ways.
is Netflix is working on interactive shows and movies.
Yes.
So very possible that you get like a super interactive, like lots of different ending style series.
Recently,
with
there
it,
was
right?
that show that they did where it didn't matter which order you watched it in, so long as you watched like the white episode last or whatever. There was like you had to watch the climax episode last, but each of the episodes had like a color name to them, and you could watch them in any order except you had to watch the last one last. And you got a
Makes
different
sense.
feel to the story by one. I can't remember.
But I mean,
what the series
even that,
was.
like, I'm talking about, like, they already have choose your own adventure.
Yeah, but they literally had a choose your own adventure thing there. I remember that.
So
yeah.
you know what? Thinking about that might be really cool. I mean, everybody knows about Dragon's Lair, but I think a lot of people haven't had an opportunity to play it. I mean, it was a game that relied on Laserdisc, so
I'm not sure it's worth playing anymore.
Sure.
But I mean, it is a thing.
it is a thing. So I don't know. There's possibilities there. Going further, they're doing a live action film for The Division. I think The Division is one of the easiest properties they could translate to film, and
We've done that a million times.
exactly, it has been done a million times.
Post-apocalyptic New York.
That said,
Hey.
it doesn't mean it can't be good. Like,
True.
Last of Us was really fucking good. So,
Yeah.
they could pull Last of Us. More Ubisoft still. Far Cry and Captain Laserhawk, a Blood Dragon remix. So they're making an animated series based on Blood Dragon, which honestly, that sounds like it could be fun. Blood Dragon was fun. So there's chances there. They're working on live action projects for Pokemon. I'm not sure.
How old did the movies do? Do we know?
The Pokemon
The
movies?
live action Pokemon movie?
Oh, you mean like Detective Pikachu? I don't
Yeah.
know how well it did. I imagine it probably did fairly well.
Honestly,
being a
dude,
Pokemon property.
if it's like Detective Pikachu, that was a fun movie. I had a lot of fun with Detective Pikachu.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Ryan Reynolds, come on.
Yeah. We've talked about it on the podcast previously, but they are also still working on Horizon Zero Dawn. So a live action Horizon Zero Dawn. We don't know whether it's going to be a film or whether it's going to be a series.
I honestly feel like that property would benefit most from a series.
Yeah, probably. I mean, honestly, longer formats usually cater better to video games, so
It really does.
it does make sense. Exploding Kittens, along with putting out the game. Okay. And they are still working on the Gears of War live action film and the animated series. So
Again, I feel like an animated series for Gears of War, that's fucking great. That would do
the best way to go.
It's- yeah.
Otherwise, it would be so
because you could get it like
expensive
you
for the
could put it
CG
in
for
that same
Yeah.
style as the old school animated Roughnecks.
Yeah.
And it would just magnifique.
I mean, it's right up there with the clone troopers. You've got a group of grizzled men surviving a shitty situation. It's
Yeah.
a good recipe.
yeah.
It is.
I mean, I don't know what to think of it. Netflix has been like putting their finger at every pie they can find
Yeah.
since things are starting to go downhill. Their gaming branch is much more missed than hit. So we'll see how many
yeah.
of these pan out.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, it makes me worried a little bit. Like, before a year ago, I would have been much more excited about all this. But after what they've done to The Witcher,
Yeah.
Been to a lot of shows.
done to a lot of shows, but The Witcher was a successful video game show that they progressively made worse. A la Heroes, until we're just going to be thankful that it's over.
At the very end of the day,
The animated Witcher show, magnifique.
That was good.
It
It
was
was very good.
excellent. It was super great. So I don't know, man. It's a little weird with that. Yeah, I mean, it's cool that video games are getting more and more stuff, and it's looking good. So
That
I'm
is a
excited
good
about
point.
that.
yeah, definitely. And honestly, at the end of the day, for me, whether it's good or not, I get to talk about it on the podcast.
Yeah.
It's doubly entertaining. If it's really bad, I have a really good time tearing it apart on the podcast, and if it's really good, I love gushing about it. So for me, it feels like 2 for 1, no matter what. So at the end of the day, I'm okay with just some more video game properties coming to Netflix. Yeah. Josh, actually, Nick, you want to talk about Table Punch, the new game from Valve Software?
Yeah. So there's this game that everyone has played, except for people, where you punch a table, but then you could get really rude around the whole earth. How long do I keep this going? And
I don't know.
then you do it again, but now the smoke can get exploded with grenades.
And it's offensive on all levels.
I did it. I attacked the earth.
Oh, shit.
Counter-Strike 2, everybody, if you're still listening to the podcast, is now a thing. It went from like there's a couple trailers to apparently they had a 6-month-long private beta to now it's out. It's here.
It's dropped.
We live in an age of the second Counter-Strike. I'm pretty sure the first Counter-Strike was made in ancient Sumeria, given how long it's been around.
Cuneiform code.
Yeah. You ever heard somebody say Sika Bliat in cuneiform?
we first played Counter-Strike in hieroglyphics.
We did, yes.
It took days to articulate a shot.
Op was the first written word. But no, it's out. And surprising to me, mostly just because I haven't been following it, is that it straight up just replaced Counter-Strike Go.
Yeah.
Which now that I think about it, they probably did that with the original Counter-Strike and Counter-Strike Go, right? They just replaced the first one? Or did they not?
You can still play Counter-Strike.
Okay, so this is a new thing. So hot off the heels of Overwatch replacing itself with Overwatch 2, and the debacle that was, Steam has made the choice to replace Counter-Strike Go with Counter-Strike 2. Bonkers in my mind, but Counter-Strike 2, given the reviews I've read of it from pros and some other people, not counting the obvious complaints you're always going to get anytime something old changes, it seems that the consensus is it has a ways to go. It's really quite not ready for prime time, probably should have been delayed a bit, and it's definitely not ready for actual competitive tournament ranked play, but it's not as bad as people were fearing. That's the kind of best you can hope for to like change Counter-Strike, which is older than God.
Right.
So yeah, the game's out. You can go play it. It's free to play. Get in while the getting's good. Learn how to shoot down long A. I don't know. I know Counter-Strike's through pop culture.
Yeah.
I played it a long time ago.
No, yeah, I played it before everybody was doing sick knife tricks between every trick shot. So, I played a lot of the original.
Flourish, son.
I played a lot of the original Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike Source, if I remember, is what it's called now, right?
Okay.
But yeah, CS:GO, it was fun. I played it at LAN a few times for them. That's like my biggest experience with it. Counter-Strike Go never really got me, I guess. But I'm happy for
that you got to sink 2,000 hours into before you can start getting good at it.
And honestly, that's why I didn't get into it. It's fucking intimidating at the end of the day.
That's always what kept me out because I love a good competitive shooter. But I'm ass, and I don't need that hit to my self confidence when I get off work and go and try and play that. Where someone's like, say you're cancer, but that kills people. So I don't get good. I don't need someone screaming get good at me.
It's like no joke. People in like Eastern Europe that are sitting with their knees to their chest on a plastic lawn chair, their laptop is 2 inches from their face, and their hands on a mouse made out of duct tape, and they've got an 80-to-1 kill ratio because they play the game 37 hours a day.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I don't play Counter-Strike.
Right.
Yeah, that's,
Too much.
Intimidating as fuck.
But, I mean, everybody's got to relearn it. Things are different now.
Yeah.
If you enjoy it, it's free to play. You can keep playing it.
It might just be the best time to get into it.
The best thing about this is the game isn't going to die. It's not going to get sunset. It's not going to get retired. Right, it's Counter-Strike. This is just the newest iteration, and it will continue on probably until the heat death of the universe.
Oh, absolutely. It'll be the last game to be played.
Yep,
for sure. I mean,
everything is black holes.
It's still on top of Twitch regularly, still on the top of Steam played regularly. It's people forget how massive it is, right? Yeah. So people, it's offered for free on Steam by Valve. It's going to be big, right? So, and it was the first game to be on Steam.
I'm pretty sure it was the first.
Yeah.
Just blank it.
It was the first.
Fill in the blank.
It was the first insert word here. So, Josh, we have one more thing to talk about this evening.
Yeah. I want to do a little bit of an update. We talked about last week how it was looking like the vote for SAG-AFTRA against these video game companies was going to be approved. Well, that vote happened, and the strike has been approved. Now, the vote came in at a 98% in favor of. Now, only about 30% of SAG-AFTRA members voted on this, but that's still an overwhelming yes vote of nearly 30,000 people. So that's good. Now, we're, of course, this has really become kind of big news with the WGA. That strike has just recently been resolved. It looks like the SAG-AFTRA is probably going to get what they're asking for from the movie companies, but the fight continues. Now, this fight has apparently been going on for over 5 rounds of negotiations since October of last year.
Wow.
So over 5 rounds of negotiations since last year. Oh, I lost my spot.
Oh, don't you hate that?
I know, it's the worst. They're fighting against some of the same things again that they're fighting against in the movie companies. So exploitive uses of AI, lagging wages, stunt work, motion capture work. So all of these things again being very important to video game actors, because they're not even, a lot of times some people get their faces in the games, but not everybody is the actor that gets their face in the game. Some people are just voices.
Yeah.
I have a comprehensive list here of the video game companies facing potential strikes. So it includes, pod favorite Activision Blizzard, of course, Blind Light LLC, Disney Character Voices Incorporated, Electronic Arts, Formosa Interactive LLC, Insomniac Games, Epic Games, Take-Two Entertainment, VoiceWorks Productions, and of course WB Games. So a lot of titans in the gaming industry there. A lot of big names who could be facing no actors, no showing up for voice stuff, obviously, no promotions, which is a big deal. I mean, think of all those fun videos we saw with Mark Hamill and the Jedi Survivor kid. That was a fun advertisement video. We won't get that with this strike here. So it's good to see unions becoming a thing in video games. Sega this year had one of the largest video game union come into effect. Microsoft has been allowing game testers to be forming their own unions. So not only is like the SAG-AFTRA union really fighting for their people in the video game industry, but the video game industry itself is starting to see its own unions forming, and that's good news.
We're here for it.
Yeah, awesome. We're here for it.
Yeah.
Good news for developers. Good news for consumers. Good news for everybody.
Definitely. I mean, anymore, working as a voice for a video game character is acting. Like, we expect the same quality of performance from our voice actors as we do actors on the silver screen, right? Yep. Maybe even more so. Their job may be easily just as difficult, because you have like full mocap doing stunts, right?
Right.
That's a thing that happens now. Like, there are games that are done in full mocap where, you don't have a CGI artist rendering a fight scene. You have a stunt person fighting another stunt person for a fight scene, right?
Yeah. Definitely.
Just like you do in the movies. So more and more, we're expecting these voice actors and like traditional actors to pull the same level of performance as you get in the movies, and I certainly believe they deserve to be compensated just like the actors do, especially knowing how much money a game can rake in. Now, and especially also considering that the cost to develop a game is weirdly often a lot less than the cost to develop a movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's going to be really important in the future to make sure that our, not just the actors, but the writers, developers are all getting their fair share. One thing that happened in the SAG-AFTRA negotiations that are still ongoing with the studios, but one of the things that the studios are now going to have to give to SAG representatives is not just their sales, but also their views on live streaming platforms, which is huge.
Yeah, that streaming data, that has been a closely held arcane secret since they started. So that's going to be That's
Right.
going to be good. It's going to be good to see. It's going to, be revealing.
Yeah, because honestly, you should be able to leverage. I was the the lead for X movie or X game. And you should be able to use that metric in negotiation.
I'm
for
11
your
in Stranger Things. Give me what I want.
Right.
Come on.
So I think it's all good. It looks like more and more
Absolutely.
people are getting what they deserve in the entertainment industry, and I'm happy about that.
Just to close it up, so just because the strike was approved doesn't necessarily mean that people are going to be hitting the picket lines yet. There is still another round of negotiations, and Duncan Crabtree Ireland, the national executive director and chief negotiator, said in a statement, "I remain hopeful that we will be able to reach an agreement that meets our members' needs, but our members are done being exploited. And if these corporations aren't willing to offer a fair deal, our next stop will be picket lines." They already proved they ain't fucking around.
Yep.
So don't find out. Don't fuck around. You won't have to find out.
That's right. So weirdly enough, that was really quick, gentlemen, but that does conclude our podcast for the evening. The stories, they were just cut and dry. This is happening.
We need to get it done quick before Netflix canceled us.
That's very true. So true. Well, guys, hey, listen, I do feel like today's podcast was a little bit different, felt a little bit different than previous podcasts, maybe, in its presentation. Maybe this, we're going into the season where we're going to be lacking some video game news. There won't be so many big announcements. We're hot off the tails of lots of Steam sales, lots of big game announcements, etc. We're going to have a little bit less of that to talk about here in the near future. So
we will still have the fall sale and the winter sale coming up on Steam that I'm sure we'll talk about. There are a few things. There are some things.
There's certainly stuff coming up. But, the Sony State of Play, that's going to be the last one for the year, most likely. We're probably not going to get any more major game shows. Probably not too many
big
game announcements.
Releases are happening now in the next
No
week
more
or two.
Baldur's Field or Stargate.
So if I could enlist you, viewer or listener, to go to videogametango.com and leave us a voicemail. Let us know what you want to hear from us. Then I'd really appreciate it. I also track the comments on YouTube. So if you're watching this and you're like, what I'd like to hear these guys' opinions on, let us know in the YouTube comments. Or you know what? Every Wednesday night, come over to Twitch. Watch us live. We'd be happy to talk about the subjects you want to talk about in chat. So there's lots of ways to get a hold of us. Lots of ways to join us live. So I implore you to do so. If you want us to talk about any given topic, or if you just want our take on something, let us know in one of those ways, and we'd be happy to talk about it on the podcast. Because pretty soon we're going to be reaching, we're going to be scratching. We're going to be some of our news is just going to be, hey, the Steam winter sale is on.
Video games exist.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, if there is anything that you want us to talk about, let us know, and we gladly will.